Dang, I need to cut my hair. So the Lord's been speaking to me a lot recently, and I'm about to tell a story of kind of something that happened this past week with some guys in the volleyball world that I got involved in somehow. But it's good because the Lord teaches me through these examples in life, often my own life and things that I've learned from experiences, which sometimes has to happen the hard way, unfortunately. And then sometimes through other people too. So I was asked this about a month and a half ago by a lovely couple. They were asking me if I think that my gift is evangelism, and I told them no. I just evangelize because nobody else is doing it. But I think my gift is teaching, but not in the typical sense of like teaching straight out of like the Bible, like expository teaching, but through example. And I realized this, before I get into the story, I realized this 6 years ago when I just felt this urge to like teach, but I read in the Bible that not everybody should be teachers. So I prayed about it, and make a long story short, I realized that my name means teaching. It doesn't mean teacher, it doesn't mean teach, it means teaching, which I think implies teaching by example, by my own life example. So not just my own testimony, but just like things that the Lord has shown me. So anyway, about a week ago, I get a message from this guy named Steven. Okay, so there's two names that you need to know. Brian and Steven, okay? Brian is the guy I baptized like second week of January. I've known him for a few years now, actually. Yeah, a few years now, but we're never really that close. And then Steven, I've never met Steven, but I guess he'd been messaging me on Instagram, and we'd had some conversations there. He ends up wanting to get on a phone call. I get on a phone call with Steven, and he goes, hey, like, well, before I get into what I want to talk to you about, he said, I just wanted to ask you about Brian. He said, I've been working with Brian doing beach volleyball stuff, but like recently he's kind of, I don't know, stepped away from that relationship and really doesn't want anything to do with me. And he goes, and Brian, I just realized he's just such a prideful guy, and he's super prideful, blah, blah, blah. I started saying all these things about Brian, and he goes, and he's like he's dealing drugs for the cartel and all this stuff. And he tried to rope me into the dealing drugs with the cartel. And he goes, so like, what are your experiences with him? Because I saw you baptized him. I just wanted to know, like, this is what he's saying to me. And I'm like, whoa, like, I was thrown off by that. And I'm thinking, okay, he's saying Brian's a prideful guy. I've only really known Brian as a very humble guy. Like, every interaction I've had with him has been great. But I'm thinking, like, I guess I could see how he's prideful. I don't know. And he goes, but the cartel thing, and I'm thinking, I don't really know Brian that well. Like, I don't see him like that, but he was smoking weed, like, not too long ago, like, before he got baptized. So, like, maybe he does have ties to that. Like, maybe he still is in that. I don't really know him that well. I mean, I love Brian. I do know him, and he seems like a great guy, but I guess I haven't spent, like, the days I've spent with him haven't been that many. So who knows? And I start kind of believing this about Brian. So a couple days go by, and I end up calling Brian. I'm like, hey, I heard these things about you. And Brian's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that. Like, yeah, I've been dealing with this guy for some time now. And I actually had met with Brian like a week or two before that. And he was just telling me, he's like, yeah, I've been just trying to fight evil with love. And that's what he was telling me. He's like, yeah, I'm just trying to let the Lord fight this battle. So I leave that conversation with Brian thinking, okay, well, Brian's a very humble guy. There's no way, like, he's not a prideful guy at all. And I was kind of like sobered up from believing these things that Steven told me. But then I'm thinking, like, but the drugs, like the cartel stuff, I'm like, I mean, that could still be true. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know Brian that well. I think he's a great guy. So I'm still having these doubts about who he is. A couple days go by. I end up playing a tournament. This is actually on Saturday. And I see a guy that Brian knows pretty well, that they work together. And I wanted to ask him about it, and I was a little bit hesitant, like bringing up this thing about Brian. I don't know why. I guess I was uncomfortable telling this guy that I'm doubting who Brian is, you know. I don't want him to think that. And just bringing something up that's like not good about somebody is it's just not a fun thing to do. But I'm like, I need to know about Brian. So I go up to this guy, I'm like, hey, I heard these things about Brian, like, what are your thoughts on it? And he goes, yeah, don't believe that, it's not true. And I'm like, okay, good, like, that's what I was thinking, but I really didn't know. But it was pretty wild how I could, like, really doubt who Brian is. Even though all my experiences with Brian have been great, this guy comes in and starts spreading these things that aren't true about him, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe it could be true. But I'm glad I talked to his friend and asked him, like, okay, tell me about this, because I really didn't know. And I'd read in the Bible, like the Bible warns in like the beginning of Proverbs and even Psalm 37, it says, like, don't worry about the evildoers who like scheme and plot against the righteous. Like their plans won't stand. These people who like, it describes them like they lie and they wait, like lie down and wait for the righteous so they could ambush them and trick them and just go against them and maybe spread lies about them. And I'd read that, but I thought, like, nobody really does that. Like, who does that? Until I came across this, and I'm like, oh wow, the Lord's showing me, oh, there are people that do spread false things, like some with malintent, some really with not bad intent. Oh, and I guess what I forgot to say was, that was the beginning of what Stephen told me. He said, well, the real reason why I wanted to talk to you was because I'm a Christian too, and I want to go to Bible studies, and I want to like get connected with Christians, and just if you ever have something that you like, please invite me. So I'm thinking, oh, this guy's a Christian too. Oh, he wants to grow closer to the Lord. So maybe he is telling the truth about Brian. So it's crazy how even the devil uses that to like deceive, and how susceptible we are to these deceptions. I was thinking, like, why would anybody do that? Like, I would never lie about that stuff, or like, so I think, like, I like to think the best of people, and like, oh, nobody would do that. Nobody would spread false things. Not a Christian too wouldn't spread that. And I'm like, well, why would they do that? And I guess there's a few reasons I can think of. Is, well, jealousy is one. Conviction is another, and I guess fear. And I don't know if I need to get into all of those, but yeah, jealousy. I mean, that's a huge one. Somebody's being blessed, and you don't like that, or conviction. Maybe somebody's living a righteous life and makes somebody else think about, oh, I'm not living so great, or fear. Just, it could be really anything. But there are people that just spread false rumors, gossip, slander, and a couple times I've been, I guess, slandered, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting how the Lord showed me that. He's been showing me a lot that I can't really share everything, and I'm going to put this, I guess, on my secondary channel, just because these people might end up seeing it if it's on my main channel. But yeah. Yeah. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. How are you doing? Enough about me. How are you? It's interesting being in front of the camera. It's always... I have so many things to share. So many things. But just really learning to abide in the Lord. I've been reading John, and in John 15 it says that the branch cannot bear fruit unless it abides in the vine. So neither can you unless you abide in me. And I realize so often that's why our plans maybe fail. It's because we go ahead of the Lord, right? And or we have like these goals in mind of like, oh, this is what God would want me to do, instead of just like abiding in Him and listening to Him and looking to Him for direction, for counsel. So the Lord's teaching me how to do that, and it's been good. It's been really good. I think that was it. I think that was the whole story. Yeah, I just didn't think I didn't believe that there were people out there that would be spreading false things, just maliciously or for no really good reason. And then you encounter them. And it's tough when they're Christians too, or they say they're Christians, or even when they're people you know. I won't get into this story, but at my university something happened like this where a couple people got baptized, and it just stirred up a lot of drama, I guess you could say. People were convicted, and people that I knew, that I went to school with, are like saying these like false things about others, and that's tough when it's like people that you know, and it's people that you love, and it's people that you thought are like really solid Christians. So, I'm not moping, I'm just saying, like, it's just the reality of it. And the Lord says, hey, don't worry about those people. Like, the Lord will deal with them, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. That's kind of how I try to think of it. You just forgive, don't hold a grudge. Yeah, don't hold a grudge. That's enough about that. So I'll see you in the next one. I've been posting a lot of the videos that I would post on this channel, on my main channel, just because I'm like, why not? I kind of go back and forth with how I should structure these channels, and I'm starting to kind of narrow it down. Some birds are fighting. All right. I've been going on these walks. There's a nice little park over here. Just prayer walks have been great. It's sometimes hard for me to focus just in my room, especially when it's early, and dark, and just going on a nice prayer walk. I think it was George Whitfield. Is that his name? No. Something else, something like that. But it was a preacher who lived in Ireland, and he would walk and pray for like 3 hours a day. And he said, I have to pray this long because I have so much to do. The more I have to do in the day, the more I have to pray. What was the book? It was such a good book. Robert Chapman. The book Robert Chapman. It's a blue book. So good. So good. Okay. See ya.